Good morning, everybody, the grade 12s who are linking to our webinar today. You are most welcome. I see there are still a few people signing up. We can give another 2 minutes and we can start the webinar. Hello, everyone. I am still here. There's still some signing up. We'll wait another minute, then we'll start. Hello, everybody. I'm Wendy Pepler, Chief Education Specialist of Languages at IMPAC. You are most welcome to today's grade 12 webinar, which will be about poetry. Before we begin this webinar, let's cover some of the basics. If you are struggling to hear me, make sure your audio is on and your speaker volume is turned up. You will automatically be muted when joining the session. Should you have any questions, you can ask your questions in the question box below. To raise your hand, click the icon on your dashboard below or on your right. Download this presentation and additional resources in the handout box below or on your right. You will also find all this information in the question box below or on your right. Remember to send us your questions. Attendees are encouraged to ask questions and leave comments. However, irrelevant or inappropriate comments will result in the attendee being dismissed from the session. If we did not get your question, please send an email to academics@impac.co.za. Questions in the question box will be answered and made available afterwards. If you did not receive the questions and answers, please send an email to info@impac.co.za. Also visit the IMPAC YouTube channel for recordings of the session. I'm just going to wrap up again what you need to have studied for the June examinations. This includes what you need to have studied for your prelim examinations as well as final examinations. This is for paper 2 that I'm emphasizing. Poems, take note, there are 12 poems. Edward, Edward, The Going, The Good Morrow, And Death Shall Have No Dominion, Toads, I Have My Father's Voice, Sonnet 146, Naming of Parts, which we will discuss today, The Child Dying, which we will also be discussing today, The Loss of India, Visiting Room, Remembrance, as well as notes on answering an unseen poem, as you will receive an unseen poem in the exam papers as well. Then your novel, The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry. You need to have studied the entire novel. And the drama, Long Day's Journey into Night, also the entire play. For sample questions, you can look at previous exam papers, which can be found on my stanzai.impak. Study notes can also be sourced from the internet. Let's start with the first one, Naming of Parts by Henry Reed. You will find it on page 113 of your study guide. Naming of Parts. Naming of Parts is a satirical poem written during the Second World War. Satire means that it could be sarcastic or, yes, what is a satirical poem? Satire is a technique used in poetry and other media in which the poet or author or artist draws out societal or religious criticisms through the use of literary devices. Although satire is usually witty and often very funny, the purpose of satire is not primarily humor, but criticism of an event, an individual, or a group in a clever manner. Background to this poem. Britain had been hoping to negotiate a peaceful solution, but when war was declared, it found itself unprepared. It could not use all the necessary equipment. A massive program was launched to manufacture weapons and uniforms. Some units had to be trained with brooms instead of rifles, and this is where the satire is coming in. In this poem, an instructor is demonstrating the parts and use of the rifle. The satire comes in when the weapons they are holding do not have the features of the one being described. Perhaps they are holding broomsticks. I'm first going to read the poem. Today we have naming of parts. Yesterday we had daily cleaning, and tomorrow morning we shall have what to do after firing. But today we are naming of parts. We have naming of parts. Japonica glistens like coral in all the neighboring gardens. And today we have naming of parts. This is the lower sling swivel, and this is the upper sling swivel, whose use you will see when you are given your slings, and this is the piling swivel, which in your case you have not got. The branches hold in the gardens their silent, eloquent gestures, which in our case we have not got. This is the safety catch, which is always released with an easy flick of the thumb. And please do not let me see anyone using his finger. You can do it quite easy if you have any strength in your thumb. The blossoms are fragile and motionless, never letting anyone see any of them using their finger. And this, you can see, is the bolt. The purpose of this is to open the breech, as you see. We can slide it rapidly backwards and forwards. We call this easing the spring. And rapidly backwards and forwards, the early bees are assaulting and fumbling the flowers. They call it easing the spring. They call it easing the spring. It is perfectly easy if you have any strength in your thumb, like the bolt, and the breech, the cocking piece, and the point of balance, which in our case we have not got, and the almond blossom silent in all of the gardens, and the bees going backwards and forwards. For today we have naming of parts. What type of poem is this? This is a satirical lyric. The structure of the poem, it consists of 5 stanzas of 6 lines each, 6 lines being sestets. The theme of the poem is war. The poet explores war's effect on young men who desire in their hearts to enjoy life for the beauty it offers. But these men are inducted into warfare by their respective governments and their agendas. The focus of the poem is contrasting the mechanical, boring naming of parts of a weapon of warfare with the aesthetically pleasing elements of life. This includes the natural beauty of the physical environment around them, the flora and fauna of the earth. For example, this is expressed in the line, Japonica glistens like coral in all of the neighboring gardens, from stanza 1. I think when we were reading it, it was quite confusing because the first part of the poem, they're describing the parts of the rifle, and then suddenly it switches over to nature. There are 2 distinct speakers in this poem. The first speaker, the strict instructor, speaks within the first 3.5 lines of each stanza. He is concerned about the war and teaching the proper operation of the rifle. The second speaker is the new sensitive recruit, speaks in the remaining lines of the stanza, is less worried about the war and much attracted by the normal life and the pleasures of springtime. Let's look at stanza 1. Today we have naming of parts. Yesterday we had daily cleaning, and tomorrow morning we shall have what to do after firing. But today we have naming of parts. That is the first speaker. Then the second speaker comes in, the sensitive recruit. Japonica glistens like coral in all the neighboring gardens. Here we have Japonica glistens like coral. The word like tells us that something is being compared. The Japonica is being compared to shining coral in the gardens. This is a simile indicated by the word like. And today we have naming of parts. Here you can see there is repetition. In the first line we have naming of parts. In the fourth line we have naming of parts. And today in the line 6 we have naming of parts. Stanza 2. This is the lower swivel, and this is the upper sling swivel, whose use you will see when you are given your slings, and this is the piling swivel, which in your case you have not got. This indicates that they have not got the proper rifle in their hands because they're speaking of parts that they have not got. Then we go to the second speaker again. The branches hold in the gardens their silent, eloquent gestures. This is personification. The branches are being personified, being given human qualities, which in our case we have not got. Stanza 3. This is the safety catch which is always released with an easy flick of the thumb. And please do not let me see anyone using his finger. You can do it quite easy if you have any strength in your thumb. Then again the second speaker. The blossoms are fragile and motionless, never letting anyone see any of them using their finger. Stanza 4. And this you can see is the bolt. The purpose of this is to open the breech, as you see. We can slide it rapidly backwards and forwards. We call this easing the spring, and rapidly backwards and forwards. Again, the second speaker speaking. The early bees are assaulting and fumbling the flowers. Here we have alliteration of the F, fumbling the flowers. They call it easing the spring. Here we have a pun, because this spring could be the spring on the rifle, but also easing the spring, the season of spring. This is the pun. Stanza 5. They call it easing the spring. It is perfectly easy if you have any strength in your thumb, like the bolt, a simile. Strength, like the bolt. And the breech, and the cooking piece, and the point of balance, which in our case we have not got. Again, satirically indicating that they are not holding the rifle in their hands, but something else, possibly the broom. And the second speaker starts, and the almond blossom, silent in all the gardens, and the bees going backwards and forwards. For today, we have naming of parts. In this poem, we have contrast, the mechanical, boring naming of parts of a weapon of warfare, contrasting against the aesthetically pleasing elements of life, the natural beauty of the physical environment around them. Then we are also going to discuss a second poem. This is because I am so scared we're not going to get through all the poetry before you write exams. The Child Dying by Edwin Muir. This you will find on page 118 in your study guide. The Child Dying. If we look at the title of the poem, we'll presume that the poet is writing about the death of his child. And I think in a class situation, if I asked you what you think the poem would be about by just looking at the title, you would also say to me, you probably think that it is about the death of a child. This is, however, not the case. The poet found it difficult to come to terms with the deaths of his parents and brothers, all of whom died within months of each other. Perhaps this was his way of trying to deal with the pain. He writes from the dying child's perspective, describes his feelings and experience of dying. This is thus the monologue of a child who is about to die. A monologue, one person speaking. Once again, we'll first read the poem. Unfriendly, friendly universe, I pack your stars into my purse and bid you so farewell that I can leave you quite go out. Go out beyond all doubt. My Father says is the miracle. You are so great and I so small. I am nothing, you are all. Being nothing, I can take this way. Oh, I need neither rise nor fall. For when I do not move at all, I shall be out of all your day. It said some memory will remain. In the other place, grass in the rain, light on the land, sun on the sea, a flitting grace, a phantom face. But the world is out, there is not place where it and its ghost can ever be. Father, Father, I dread this air, blown from the far side of despair. The cold, cold corner. What house? What hold? What hand is there? I look and see. Nothing filled eternity, and the great round world grows weak and old. Hold my hand, oh hold it fast. I am changing until at last my hand in yours no more will change, though yours change on, you here, I there. So hand in hand, twin-leafed despair. I did not know death was so strange. If we look at the structure of the poem, we see we have 5 stanzas with 6 lines each, tercets or sestets. The rhyme scheme is not absolutely regular throughout, but the stanzas nevertheless follow AAB, CC, B. AAB, CC, B. The tone of the poem is sad. Let's look at the stanzas one by one. Unfriendly, friendly universe. We have contradiction here. We call this an oxymoron. Unfriendly, friendly universe. We can conclude that the universe is friendly because the child had a happy life and does not want to leave the universe to go to an unknown place. At the same time, the universe is unfriendly because it is discarding him. In dying, he is going to leave the universe. I pack your stars into my purse. In other words, when you pack your bags or your purse, you're ready for leaving somewhere, to go somewhere. So in this, I pack your stars into my purse. He's ready to leave, taking the stars with him because for him, the lights are going out. And bid you so farewell. He bids the universe farewell. That I can leave you, quite go out. Go out, beyond all doubt. My Father says is the miracle, that I can leave you, quite go out, beyond all doubt. My Father says is the miracle. The fact that I can leave you is the miracle, according to my Father. This is another sort of contradiction. We would expect a miracle would occur if the son was to be spared. Possibly the father feels that death will put an end to the child's suffering, hence the miracle. Stanza 2. You are so great and so small. Here we have opposites again, which we call antithesis. So great and so small. You are so great and I so small. The universe is big. The child is small. Remember, this is a monologue. The child is speaking to the universe. The child is speaking to the universe. This is an apostrophe. The speaker addresses the universe. I am nothing, you are all. He is completely insignificant in comparison to the universe. Being nothing, I can take this way. Perhaps the child is in some way glad to be dying in a quiet, unspectacular way. He is tired of being the center of attention. Oh, I need neither rise nor fall, for when I do not move at all. This is a euphemism. If you studied your literary devices, your figures of speech, etc., you would have learned that a euphemism is to soften something. And in this case, when I do not move at all, he's actually saying when he is dead. In other words, this euphemism is softening that when I am dead to when I do not move at all. I shall be out of all your day. Also a euphemism. I will be dead. I shall be out of all, also softening the death. Perhaps he is rebuking the universe by saying sarcastically that he'll get out of its way so that he doesn't waste any more of its time, implying that the universe was getting impatient with him. Perhaps he is sadly reminding us that he will be out of the light of life and in the darkness of death. It's said some memory will remain. In the other place, grass in the rain. The other place is after death. Again, a euphemism. It said some memory will remain in the other place, grass in the rain. The focus changes to the child's thoughts of when he passed through the gates of death to the other place. Light on the land, sun on the sea. See the alliteration. Light on the land, the alliteration of the L. Sun on the sea, the alliteration of the S. Beautiful imagery of memories he believes he will take with him. He will take the light on the land and he'll take the sun on the sea. These images are enhanced by the alliteration of the soft, gentle sounds L and S. It evokes immense sadness to think of how the child will never again be able to enjoy those beautiful aspects of the universe. You might get a question like, let's say, identify the alliteration and explain the effect, the effect of the alliteration. Then you would say these images are enhanced by the alliteration of the soft, gentle sounds of the L and the S. And what is the effect? It evokes immense sadness to think of how the child will never again be able to enjoy those beautiful aspects of the universe. A flitting grace, a phantom face. The memories continue, but now they are fading. They are flitting. They are fading as he appears to be drawing closer to death. A flitting grace, passing blessing, and a phantom face, a glimpse of a face that he remembers. Can you see the imagery? But the world is out. There is not place where it and its ghosts can ever be. And then the sinking into death. The world is out. There is no place for the world and its ghost. Indistinct memories where he is going. Stanza 4. Father, Father, I dread this air. Now he's speaking to his father in stanza 4. Here we have repetition which emphasizes this. Father, Father, I dread this air. Blown from the far side of despair. The cold, cold corner. What house? What hold? Here we have repetition of cold, cold corner. What house? What hold? It is clear that the child is on the threshold of death and feels its chill. We sense his fear as he calls out, "Father, Father." The repetition and diction turns to despair. What hand is there? I look and see. Now we can go back to the previous line to say, what house, what hold, what hand is there? I look and see. Nothing filled eternity. There are questions, but no answers. Nothing filled eternity. What house? What hold? What hand is there? I look and see. Nothing filled eternity. He's looking for answers to his questions. There are questions, but no answers. Nothing filled eternity. And the great round world grows weak and old. The world grows weak and old. This is transference, unconscious redirection of feelings from one person to another. It is the child who grows weak, not the world, and he is about to leave it. Do you see that? And the great round world grows weak and old. Transference, transfer, or indirect transfer of feelings from one person to another. It is not the world that grows weak, it is the child who grows weak and is about to leave it. The alliteration of the W and wordplay. The emptiness that he sees beyond death causes him to ask, what house, what hold, what hand is there? The repeated H draws attention to these words, and the hold creates wordplay. There is no sign of life, no house, no building, no hold, no household, no family, but also no hand, no one to hold on to for comfort. Stanza 5. Hold my hand, oh hold it fast. The child's vulnerability shows in his desperate cry to hold his hand tightly. This could also possibly mean that to hold something is to stop it, to hold him back from going over the brink of life into death. Hold my hand, oh hold it fast. I am changing until at last my hand in yours no more will change. He is on the brink of changing from life into death. The repeated change adds meaning. His hand will no longer change position. It will not move because there will be no life. I am changing until at last my hand in yours no more will change. In other words, it will not move because there will be no life. Though yours change on, you here, I there. He's speaking here to the universe or to those people perhaps staying behind. I'm changing. I'm going there. You will change on, you here. His father's hand will change on as the father lives on and ages. So his father's hand will carry on changing. His won't because he no longer alive. So hand in hand, twin-leafed despair. Twin, he is comparing his father's hand to a twin leaf. This is a metaphor. Now, if you look at your hands, holding them downwards, you can imagine them looking like a leaf. The veins, the branches branching out, etc. They are hand in hand at the very moment of the child's death. Their hands are two leaves clasped together in mutual despair. Consider the metaphor by looking at your own hand, palm down. With fingers together, it resembles a leaf. Look at the bones leading to the fingers and the veins. I did not know death was so strange. Then it's over. The child speaks from the other side, because now he's speaking past tense. I did not know death was so strange. Now, if we summarize this poem, the child moves closer to death throughout the poem. In stanza 1, he talks of the universe and addresses it because he is part of it, the here and now, which he bids farewell. In stanza 2, he starts to differentiate between himself and the universe. It is great, he is small, which signifies the beginning of separating himself from it. Stanza 3, he considers what lies ahead for him on the other side. Stanza 4, he feels the chill of death and becomes frightened. Stanza 5, he feels terror at the moment of death and then passes through death as he ends the poem speaking in the past tense of the experience that he has undergone. That is that for today, the 2 poems. Go have a look at them again in your study guides and try and answer your questions without looking at the answers in the facilitator guides. If you have any questions, you can post them in the box on the right, question box on the right. I will attend to them once I get them. If you do not receive them, just a reminder that you send an email to info@impact.co.za. And if you do not manage to post your question or have questions after this lesson, you can send the questions to academic@impact.co.za. Just a reminder to please download the presentation, which you can find on the right before leaving this webinar. If you are not registered with Impact, you can contact us at info@impact.co.za. Thank you for joining us in this webinar. I hope you learned something from it, and we will see you again. Thank you and goodbye.